So with Max Holloway now confirming that he will compete in the UFC's lightweight division going forward, today we're going to be talking about Max Holloway versus the current top 5 UFC lightweights. So let me shrink myself down to size here. Yeah, boy. Right, let's start off. Max Holloway, Dan Hooker. Now, before anyone bitches in the comments that Dan Hooker is number 6, Max Holloway's ranked number 5. Max Holloway can't fight himself. So, glad we cleared that up. Dan Hooker, Max Holloway is such a favorite matchup. That could be for the BMF title. Now, Dan Hooker is currently ranked number 6 in the lightweight division, and he is coming off that very controversial win over Mateus Gamrot. Realistically, he lost that fight, in my opinion. I thought it was a close fight, don't get me wrong, but I thought Gamrot should have won it. But anyway, less of that. Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, both guys are great strikers, obviously. Both guys are very tough and durable as well. This would make for a very interesting matchup. Now, I'm going to say these matchups are all over 5 rounds, by the way. So, I'm just clearing that up now. Max Holloway, in my opinion, would put a beating on Dan Hooker. Now, we've seen Dan Hooker have success against some of the elite guys, like a Dustin Poirier. Let's not forget, he really hurt Poirier in their fight. But Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway fight very differently. I feel like Max Holloway would do a good job of just drowning Dan Hooker in there. I feel like the earlier rounds would be really entertaining, especially rounds 1, 2, and the start of 3. I feel like, honestly, they would be such entertaining rounds. I still feel like Max would be getting the better of Dan Hooker in the exchanges, just with his volume. I feel like Dan Hooker would struggle with Max Holloway's output, especially, say this goes into rounds 4 and 5, which I believe it would. I know Max Holloway has found like this new power that people talk about, but Dan Hooker is one of the toughest guys in the division, in the UFC. And Max Holloway doesn't have power like that, if I'm being honest, to the point where I feel like he would just be able to knock Dan Hooker out early on. Could happen, I just don't think it would happen. But in rounds 4 and 5, I feel like Max Holloway would really excel in these matchups, or in this matchup, and just put a beating on Dan Hooker. I think Max Holloway would comfortably win this fight, but I feel like at moments we would get some really exciting exchanges between both guys, but Max Holloway will come out victorious in this matchup. Next up, we've got Dustin Poirier. Now, Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway, we have seen this before. This won't be anything new. Dustin Poirier is currently 2-0 over Max Holloway. The last time they fought was at lightweight, and it was for the interim lightweight title. We all know how that fight went. That right there, that card had probably the best co-main and main event on any UFC card, in my opinion. That had Adesanya Gastelum on it as well. Another absolute war. This was a really fun fight, but now we're a good couple of years removed from that. Max Holloway has obviously improved since then. Dustin Poirier also has improved since then. In my opinion, Poirier put on his career best performance against Islam Makhachev in there. Even though he lost, I still feel like Dustin Poirier looked really good in that matchup, and give the point for point number 1 a lot of things to think about when he was in that matchup. But look, I'm going to be honest. I think Max Holloway takes it. I think Max Holloway does finally get the win over Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is a tricky matchup for Max Holloway because he is very powerful, and it will be interesting now to see Max Holloway, since his chin has officially been cracked. Ilia Topuria knocked him out. Is this the start of the decline of Max Holloway? Is this Max Holloway slowly turning in to Tony Ferguson? We won't know until we see him in there. And Dustin Poirier is a very dangerous guy that can test that. But I feel like Max Holloway has really improved since then. And let's not forget, it wasn't ideal circumstances for Max Holloway taking that rematch with Dustin Poirier. I feel like things would be a lot different now. Max Holloway is going to build up into this weight. We've seen him against Justin Gaethje, and he looked fantastic in there. He looked phenomenal. One of his best performances of his career against Justin Gaethje, a very dangerous guy who, let's not forget, not so long ago just head kick knocked out Dustin Poirier. But yeah, Dustin Poirier, great boxer as well. Very good at picking his shots, like pot shots, if you know what I mean. And he's very heavy-handed. So it is a dangerous matchup for Max Holloway. It'll be a mental battle as well, considering he's lost twice to the guy. However, I feel like Max Holloway, with the new added body kicks into his game as well, I just feel like Max Holloway has just really leveled up from their second matchup, to be honest. I feel like he's the better boxer than what Dustin Poirier is. Yes, he doesn't hit as hard, but I think Max Holloway proves now, especially now after coming off that Gaethje knockout as well, that he can crack. He does have power. Dustin Poirier is there to be hit. Their second fight, was close. It was a war. Dustin Poirier won it, but it was close. Like, a lot of people feel like Dustin Poirier completely just whitewashed Max Holloway in there. That wasn't the case, but I feel like now that Dustin Poirier is getting up there in age now, he's contemplated retirement God knows how many times now. Max Holloway is still young, but in terms of fight years, he's old. He's taking a lot of damage in there. I feel like Max Holloway is the better boxer. I feel like he's added a lot more things to his game now that have really improved him. I think he's made more improvements than what Dustin Poirier has since their second fight. I think Max Holloway would beat Dustin Poirier. I think Max Holloway could potentially stop Dustin Poirier inside 5 rounds. I was gonna say maybe 4 rounds, but I don't know. I feel like Dustin Poirier is as tough as they come. Like, I feel like we could definitely see Max Holloway kind of similar to Dan Hooker in a sense, where the volume would end up catching up to Poirier, and now that Max Holloway has got power in his hands and he'll be built up into this division, and Poirier's just battle-scarred, battle-worn since all these wars he's been in. Like, look at that last Islam fight as well. I mean, Dustin Poirier's been through it. The Benoit St. Denis fight, yes, he got the win. It was a war as well. I'm taking Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about this. We've already seen this. Max Holloway put on an absolute clinic in there and comfortably beat him and knocked him out. I think the exact same thing would happen again. I don't want to waste too much time talking about that. Oliveira, Max Holloway 2. What a fun matchup that would be. I think that there, the rematch, that there could be a BMF title fight. A lot of people are saying you could do the loser of Chandler versus Oliveira fight Max for the BMF title. I think the winner could fight him there as well, to be honest. Charles Oliveira has obviously really improved since the Max Holloway matchup. He became lightweight champion. He does have a style that could cause Max Holloway problems, because Max doesn't fight the best when he's on the back foot, and Oliveira is constantly looking to be the guy on the front foot, and his Muay Thai is very unorthodox, and he is very, very powerful as well. Those straight shots from Oliveira, he can crack and he can hurt people, and we've seen it time and time again. But I think, one, Max Holloway won't go to the ground with Oliveira, and I feel like, 2, over a 5-round fight, Max Holloway would just break down Oliveira. I know a lot of people seem to think Oliveira is still a bit of a quitter, because we've seen that before, but I don't think Oliveira is a quitter, but I do think Max Holloway's volume would drown him in there. I think Max Holloway would stop Charles Oliveira if they were to rematch. Next up, Arman Tsarukyan and Max Holloway. This is a fun matchup because Max Holloway has good takedown defense. Obviously, we've seen Ilia Topuria take him down in their matchup, so a lot of people just disregard how, on average, good Max Holloway's takedown defense is. I think he would struggle with Arman, to be honest. On the feet, I feel like he has a lot of success in there against Arman Tsarukyan. I don't think Arman is particularly amazing on the feet, but he does well enough, and people are that scared of the takedown threat with him, that kind of evens it out, if that makes sense. But I don't know, this is difficult. I feel like Max Holloway would struggle with Arman's fight style in there, especially with the takedowns, because Arman is a really high level grappler. Who do I think wins this? Arman Tsarukyan is good, like. Do you know what? I'm going to go Max Holloway. I think Max could beat Arman. I'm kind of unsure of who I think would win that, and I like Max Holloway more, so I'm going to pick Arman. And finally, Islam Makhachev, Max Holloway. What a fun matchup this would be. Max Holloway, again, has very good takedown defense. I'm going to have to stress this, especially for the last two guys. But it just wouldn't be enough for Islam Makhachev. Islam is a great striker as well. He's a really good kickboxer. His kicks have really came on now. Max Holloway does tend to struggle with kicks. Not that Islam is the biggest leg kicker, but I think the kickboxing skill of Islam Makhachev, paired with how dominant his grappling is, I don't think Max would be able to stop the grappling of Islam Makhachev. I don't know if Islam would finish Max Holloway, but I definitely feel like Islam would beat Max Holloway. So that's how I think Max Holloway would pair up with the current top 5 UFC lightweights. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I will see you again in the next one.